welcome to my show. A guest here. His name is Jim Macy. Mr. Jim, how are you doing, sir?
I am doing very well now. Thank you very much. And
Uh,
you?
so fine. Thank you so much for the time and the opportunity, Mr. Jim. Firstly, you
Yes.
are a hypnotherapist. You are also a coach and a mind performance specialist. Can you please, Mr. Jim, discuss more about yourself and how you are doing currently now, Mr. Jim?
All right. I learned how to do hypnosis in about 1954, and I opened a professional office in 1998. In the meantime, I've done a lot of things. I've learned a lot. I've seen a lot of life, and I started coaching, executive coaching. But it's not the sort of thing where executive will come and say, "I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that." Uh, I start with the idea that an executive knows how to do what they do. They are stuck either mentally, emotionally, relationship. So I get into their mind to help them break through and do what they know how to do already. I don't teach them new things. I teach them how to get unstuck. And that's sort of the same thing with hypnosis. I can't teach you how to not smoke or how to recover from a stroke, but I can help you learn how to build new pathways in your mind, to rewire your mind so that you can do the things that you automatically know how to do. I don't know if that makes sense when I say it, but maybe an example would help. Several years ago, I had a lady call me. Her aunt had had a stroke 2 years previously. And the niece asked me, she said, "Could you help my aunt? She had a stroke. She's bedridden, and she wants help." So I called the aunt who was in a convalescent hospital, and I said, "What would you like to do for your future?" She said, "Well, I'm going to lay in bed until I die." And I said, "Why do you believe that?" She said, "Well, the doctors told me that." And I said, "You believe the doctors?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "Why?" She said, "Well, the physical therapist told me the same thing." And I said, "They both read the same book. Did they know that you were going to use hypnosis?" And she said, "No, they did not." And I said, "All right, what would you like your new future to be?" She said, "I'd like to get out of this bed, be able to visit with my family, go home and have meals with them on holidays, that sort of thing." Fine. I worked with her for 4 months very intensely. And in December, she called me and she said, "Dr. Macy, I've got a birthday present for you." And I said, "What is it? I want to know." And she said, "I took 3 steps in physical therapy today." I called her for her next meeting and I said, "How are you doing?" And she said, "I'm continuing to be able to walk in physical therapy." I said, "Fine, I've done everything I can for you." I helped her rewire her brain to do and to relearn what she already knew how to do. And that's what I do with coaching too. Um, if a coach is a micromanager, I help them learn how to release their employees so that their employees can thrive and create and do things and even surpass that manager. So it's rewiring the brain in either case. I don't know if that helps or not, but maybe we can go on from there.
Exactly. It definitely helps. You actually brought out a perspective on what you actually do to people, what you actually do to get them unstuck in the life they found themselves. And I am so glad you brought out the story of the boy as well. I think if I'm right. And also other perspective that you have actually done to actually heal people. Sometimes a lot of people just always believe everything that comes from the medical system. Because if they say this is what is going on and this is what is going to happen, they just accept it and say that is what is going to happen. They do not want to try their best to explore and see how they can actually help themselves get unstuck in that certain situation. But I am so glad you're actually
Yes.
in the position to expatiate and also help people in some ways they can help themselves and also help themselves emerge as well. From the experience you've had, Mr. Jim, I would like to know if you've written any book or if you're planning to write any book in the coming future, Mr. Jim.
I've written a couple books. One of them is self hypnosis, so that I can teach people how to do for themselves what I do for them. And I start out by telling them, look, you can change the oil in your own car. If you don't know how to change it, you go to a garage, you talk to a mechanic, and he teaches you. But every once in a while, it's good to take that car back to the mechanic to make sure that everything is running properly. And so I'm like that mechanic. I can teach you how to change the oil, how to do self hypnosis. But even when you know how to do it, you're limited. So I can help you get unlimited in that. Uh, and I teach that as well as I wrote a book on. I think it's easier and faster to teach it than to read about it. The other book that I'm writing right now is it's called Hypnosis Nuggets for Other Therapists, and I consult with psychotherapists and psychologists when they have patients of theirs. And I don't like the word patient because patient comes from the Latin derivative patiens, I believe is the way you say it, but it means the sufferer. Not everybody is a sufferer when they go to a medical doctor. Sometimes they're just going in for a checkup. When they come to me, they're not suffering. They're just coming in for a checkup. They're coming in for some help to get unstuck. So the book is written for other therapists to teach them how to use some of the techniques that I use to break through that stuckness.
Which is very much beautiful for everything you've done, and also the book you've written as well, and also the one that can actually guide people to actually help themselves, and also those who are in trauma, and also therapists as well, how they can actually get people out of some certain situation or some circumstances as well. And I would like to drive to people who could be in the position whereby they are carrying the effects of trauma or PTSD. How do you think they can begin to understand that healing does not have to be forceful or dramatic, but can be true gentle restoration, Mr. Jim?
That's a very wise comment and question. Uh, I work with particularly service people that come back from uh, a war or whatever is has created the trauma, as well as childhood trauma. Every child goes through some kind of trauma. A trauma is an experience that is greater than their ability to deal with it. So if you have an experience that as a 10, but you only have the ability to deal with something up to a 5, then that's a trauma that is unresolved. So what I do with veterans service people is that I usually use a technique that I learned from Gary Craig in the 1990s. Uh, it's called the um, emotional freedom technique. And a lot of people have done it. Uh, Gary tell, coined the word emotional freedom technique or the phrase, and that's his. But other people call it tapping, where you tap on meridians in the body to help release that. What I do is I use that tapping or emotional freedom technique, but I also help them dissociate from that trauma so that they can remember the trauma, but they don't associate the emotion that goes with it. Another example, I had a service uh, soldier that was in the Vietnam War, and he and the driver of a vehicle were supposed to go into North Vietnam and get the people, the squad that was up there, get them returned back down to South Korea. Well, the driver stopped the truck in a small North Vietnamese town and said to the soldier that I was dealing with, guard the truck. And immediately uh, the townspeople came around and circled the truck, and they pushed a little infant, a baby in diapers out. And the soldier kept telling him, go back, don't go, don't come. And the little child would start to turn around. The villagers would yell at him to go to the soldier, go to the soldier. And the soldier had to end up shooting that infant. And when he did, a live grenade dropped out of the infant's hand and exploded. Well, that created a trauma that he was unable to deal with because they were not authorized to stop. They were not, they had disobeyed orders, and he couldn't tell anybody. But we went through that second by second by second. And each time the anxiety started to rise to where he couldn't tell it. I said, stop. You don't have to go any further. Let's just deal with what you've told me. That whole incident probably took 1 minute or less. And by the time we got done, he could tell me the whole incident without having any emotional reaction to it because of the work that he and I did together. That whole thing with me took about 15 minutes to half an hour. And he was relieved of 20 years worth of trauma from that. That's just one experience that I've had with uh, soldiers. Childhood trauma. I dealt with one gentleman. He was 60 years old. When he was 8 years old, uh, his father shot and killed his pet dog to the point where the dog's blood splattered on the child. At somewhere between 8 and 11 years old, the father killed some other pets, but his older brother committed suicide. When he was 15, his younger brother committed suicide. The psychotherapist could not break through all of that because the guy was blocking it. So, what I did with him was worked with him on what's called age regression. And I went back and he and that younger self went through that trauma, a terrible trauma, went through that trauma each and every time. But this time, that younger self had his older surviving self there to guide him through it. So he didn't have to do it alone. And by the time we got all back, uh, the guy was, I called the therapist months later and I said, how's that guy doing? He said, I called him for another appointment. He said he didn't need it. He was fine. So he lost a patient, but the client or patient lost that trauma that he had been carrying for 52 years. Uh, Amazing breakthrough. Did I do it? No, I did not. I want them very, very clear. The people that I work with do it, and they either allow themselves to do it or they don't allow themselves to do it. I try to guide them through the process. And I tell them, if you want to shoot a bear, you hire a guide to take you where the bear lives, track the bear for you, point the bear out to you, but the guide will not pick up the gun and shoot the bear because that becomes the guide's bear, not yours. You have to pick up your gun and shoot the bear for it to be yours. Same thing with hypnosis. I can guide you to that point where you can make that decision to resolve the issue, or you make the decision not to resolve it. And that's something that uh, you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable, to be there with the person as the guide, to experience their experience with them to help them heal.
To be honest with you, Mr. James, this is very profound and huge because trauma are always attached with emotions. Emotions are
Yes,
always attached with trauma because anything that happened, I love what you said earlier. You said childhood. Every single person experienced it through childhood trauma,
yes,
pain. It
yes,
just determines the level how it actually differs. And for you to actually bring out the perspective that trauma, when actually bringing out that sense of healing and actually providing that sense of discussion, when someone is transcending back to history, what happened during the time of childhood, that person can be in the position whereby he or she can actually bring out those sense of emotions and to actually get situations resolved without attaching that emotions is very huge and very
yes.
imagined. It helps the nervous systems, it helps the body, and it helps the person recover more faster. And that is why I would like to drive to the point of gentle restoration. What do you think it actually looks like in real life for someone whose nervous system has been shaped by fear, overwhelmed, or prolonged stress? Mr. Jim.
I've seen the results of it. I don't understand completely how somebody does it. I don't know how they pick up the gun to shoot the bear, but I have seen the results of that. And most people express it as best they can as freedom, as joyfulness, as a new life without that negative trauma hanging over their head every single moment of every day from the time that happens until they become free. And they say, and that sometimes they'll throw their arms back and they say, I feel free. I feel wonderful. I feel renewed. And that's exciting to me because I get to be close to it and see the reaction, feel the reaction, and be able to help them express that. But it's it's when all of a sudden you come out of a dark room into the daylight. If you've never seen or heard a sound, and people that are deaf from birth, and all of a sudden they get an implant, and then they hear sounds, it's like a brand new world opening to them. It's a huge, beautiful, positive world that is. Sometimes I'll say to them, I said, I want you to imagine that you're in a rowboat in a cove, and that rowboat is anchored down with hundreds of anchors, and these are all little anchors, but together they don't let that rowboat move. And now you have a knife, a very sharp knife, or a hatchet, and you can cut those rope anchors. And each time you loosen an anchor, that rowboat is a little bit more free, free to move, free to change direction, free to move out of that cove into a new world. And those anchors are the traumas. And by healing, by cutting those ropes, they heal themselves. I don't do it. They heal themselves. And I've had medical doctors call me and ask me to come into their offices to deal with their staff that is overwhelmed with just day to day to day, over and over and over again, dealing with the things that staff sees, and they can't get rid of it. They can't go home and express it to their family because there are laws that restrain them from that, and they become overwhelmed. And what happens is their productivity goes down, their joy goes down, their frustration goes up. And when you're able to turn that world around and get rid of all of the frustrations, all of the trauma, the emotions that are attached to those trauma. Do they remember them? Yes, they remember them. You know, you don't want to forgive and forget because you're bound to do it again, but you want to forgive and remember not to let that happen again. So, in the remembering part, they have to remember how to turn loose of that emotion. So all of these, the one doctor that I dealt with, his staff was, he said their productivity had just gone down. And he said, "What's going on?" And I said, "Let me come in and work with them." I went in and worked with them. I had 3 days that I came in after office hours and worked with them to relieve all of the garbage, the negativity that they have felt and seen and absorbed. Get rid of that. You're not a sponge that you have to soak it up. You can release it as well. And so that I don't know. I can't tell you what it's like for people. I can tell you what they've told me. I can tell you the smile on their face. I can tell you the joy that they feel. I can tell you how they call me later on and thank me. But I can't tell you what that new world is for them because it's their world. I can only celebrate with them. Does that help?
Definitely help, Mr. J. It definitely help. You actually brought out more light as we humans, and also bring out more light in terms of a person who could be in the position whereby he or she is in that pivot of frustration, pivot of hunger, pivot of anxiety, and actually looking for step to actually deal with that frustration in that person, and also trying to build on that as well. And also making us understand that it is not actually your work doing, it is just something that sounds as a sense of reflection towards the person. So the work is being done in that person, and the improvement is being done in that person, and the growth
Yes.
has always been done in that person, and the growth
Yes.
and everything that the person has actually achieved actually emerged through that person. It shows that you are just like an intermediary to actually show them
Yeah.
the direction for them to heal, grow,
Yeah.
and come back more stronger. And I sincerely
Yes.
appreciate you for the great work as well, Mr. Jem. And also,
Well,
Mr. Jem, there is a question I normally ask during the end of the show. From
yes.
our forefathers, from our ancestors, there are a lot of beautiful things that do exist during our forefathers' time that is missing in our time today. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, Mr. Jim, what do you think that thing will be, Mr. Jim?
A simpler life, a life that is more positive, all during human history. There have been people that have been negative and done terrible things to others to embellish themselves. And there have been more people that have been positive, influential, and raise up the people around them. And when we find that person that raises them up, in the United States, Martin Luther King was one of those people, created a positive atmosphere around him to thousands of people. If we can find people like that and remember those people and what they did and how they did it, that's part of the human history, the human memory that we can learn about through books and through, before there was television, there was radio. Before radio, there were the storytellers. The storytellers in each family reminded us of the history, both the good things and the bad, but they brought it into the family as a living being, a living thing, so that it's not just on the TV in black and white or color. It's not just over the radio waves. It was filled with emotion. It was filled with gratitude and for examples. It's too bad that really we have such a complicated life now that we couldn't have more relationships that were honest, true relationships than manufactured relationships. Manufactured, uh, the TV show, um, the history. If we can relive, bring that history back, and make it alive, emotionally uh, relevant to our time now, I think that would be a good thing.
To be honest, Mr. Jim, the world we live in is much more busy. And during our forefathers' time, as you said earlier, storytelling was one of the greatest source, and they actually remind us of our culture, our history, and
Yes.
our background. And also, they actually teach us a lot of lessons. And these are the
Yes.
little things that has actually been replaced by the entertainment industry and other industry that we have out there. Even the younger ones now have more access to the device that can actually expose them to a lot as well. But what we do hope is to continue to promote that honesty. And as you've said earlier, actually having a genuine interaction with people, genuine story that actually comes from the heart. All those things are actually one of the greatest source for us to actually heal ourselves, grow, and also build the sense of internal and emotional strength as well. And also, Mr. Jim, I want to use this opportunity to thank you for the time and the opportunity for us to have this profound and insightful conversation today. Thank you so much, Mr. Jim.
Well, thank you. And I think that you put what I said much more eloquently and succinctly than I did. And I think that each one of us, if we can pass that on to those close to us, physically close to us, emotionally close to us, that we'll have a better world. Thank
Exactly.
you.
Exactly. Have a wonderful day, Mr. Jim. Bye bye.
Okay, bye bye.